Imagine a time when art wasn't just beautiful, it was weaponized hope. A time when a people who had been told for centuries that they had no culture, no voice, and no future, suddenly stood up and declared, "We are here. We create. We matter." In the 1920s, one neighborhood in New York City became the beating heart of that declaration. What happened in Harlem was not just a literary movement. It was the birth of modern Black identity in America. Welcome to the Harlem Renaissance, also called the New Negro Movement. The Harlem Renaissance, spanning roughly from 1918 to 1937, was an explosive intellectual, artistic, literary, and social awakening centered in Harlem, New York. It marked the first time African American writers, artists, and musicians gained national and international recognition on their own terms. James Weldon Johnson described it as the zenith of the flowering of African American literature. But it was far more than literature. It answered a painful historical question. Why had African American voices been systematically ignored or silenced for so long? Through poetry, fiction, essays, jazz, and visual art, Black creators began to reclaim their voice. They reclaimed their humanity after slavery and Jim Crow, explored the tension between a painful past and a hopeful present, and challenged the lie that Black culture was inferior. It shattered racial stereotypes in mainstream publishing, celebrated African heritage, and proved that art could be both beautiful and politically powerful. In short, the Harlem Renaissance wasn't just a rebirth. It was the first birth of a confident, self-defined Black artistic identity. To understand the Harlem Renaissance, we must first ask, why did it happen? Two massive historical forces collided to create the perfect conditions. Over 6 million African Americans fled the rural South for northern cities in what we now call the Great Migration. They escaped lynchings, brutal Jim Crow laws, sharecropping debt slavery, and limited access to education and opportunity. They sought factory jobs opened by World War I, relative safety, and the excitement of urban life. Harlem became the cultural capital because it already had a thriving Black middle class and relatively affordable housing. But migration alone does not explain everything. More than 350,000 African American soldiers served in World War I, fighting for a country that denied them basic rights at home. When they returned, they faced the Red Summer of 1919, over 25 race riots and hundreds of lynchings. This betrayal created a new collective mindset. If we can die for democracy abroad, we demand it at home. The stage was set. Harlem became the place where that demand was expressed, not through violence, but through art. To fully understand the Harlem Renaissance, we must examine one of its most powerful ideas, the New Negro. Philosopher and critic Alain Locke coined and popularized this term in his groundbreaking 1920 anthology, The New Negro. It represented a radical transformation from passive victim to active creator. It rejected the old stereotypes, the docile, comic, or tragic figure, and replaced them with a new identity. Proud, urban, sophisticated, and politically conscious. The New Negro was confident, culturally rooted, and unafraid to speak truth to power. And this new identity did not remain abstract. It exploded into culture. Jazz became the soundtrack of the movement. Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington transformed Harlem into the global center of modern music. Music was not just entertainment, it was identity, resistance, and innovation. Black newspapers and magazines became powerful platforms for expression and recognition. The Crisis, edited by W.E.A.B. Du Bois, and Opportunity, edited by Charles S. Johnson, played a crucial role in shaping the movement. These platforms discovered and paid emerging writers, something mainstream publishers rarely did. Through music, media, and art, the New Negro found not just a voice, but an audience. The Harlem Renaissance produced a generation of writers who fundamentally transformed American literature. These writers did not simply tell stories, they redefined identity, history, and voice. Langston Hughes, often called the people's poet, captured the everyday beauty and pain of Black life. He used jazz rhythms and blues structures, making poetry accessible to ordinary working-class people. In works like The Negro Speaks of Rivers and I Too, Hughes connected personal identity with historical depth and national belonging. Zora Neale Hurston, often called the Queen of the Harlem Renaissance, brought a different voice, rooted in folklore and Southern Black culture. Her masterpiece, Their Eyes Were Watching God, follows Janie Crawford's journey towards self-discovery, love, and independence. In her essays, she rejected victimhood and embraced strength and individuality. Claude McKay brought a revolutionary and militant voice to the movement. His sonnet, If We Must Die, became an anthem of resistance during racial violence. It was so powerful that it was later quoted by Winston Churchill during World War II. James Weldon Johnson stands as a central intellectual figure, a poet, diplomat, and cultural leader. His work explored complex themes of racial identity, including the phenomenon of passing, and he also authored what became known as the Black National Anthem. Other major voices include Countee Cullen, Jean Toomer, and Nella Larson, each exploring race, identity, and form in unique ways. The Harlem Renaissance did not simply produce great books, it redefined American literature. Its influence reshaped voice, style, and purpose in ways that still define literature today. First, it created an authentic Black literary tradition, no longer filtered through white editors or stereotypes. It introduced modernist techniques, jazz poetry, stream of consciousness, and folk dialect. These innovations influenced later writers like Ralph Ellison, Toni Morrison, and Maya Angelou. It forced mainstream America to acknowledge Black excellence, opening doors for future generations. It linked literature with social justice, proving that stories could fight racism more powerfully than speeches alone. Without the Harlem Renaissance, the civil rights movement would have lacked its cultural foundation. Its influence continues today in spoken word poetry, hip-hop literature, and Afrofuturism. But this cultural revolution was not limited to words. Visual artists played an equally powerful role in shaping the Harlem Renaissance. Aaron Douglas used modernist design and African motifs to create a new visual language of identity. Justice Savage transformed sculpture into a medium of dignity and resistance. Jacob Lawrence visually narrated the story of the Great Migration through powerful sequential panels. Artists like William H. Johnson and Los Mailu Jones expanded this vision further. They transformed Africa from a distorted stereotype into a symbol of pride, strength, and ancient civilization. As with all great movements, the Harlem Renaissance eventually declined, but its legacy never disappeared. The movement began to fade with the Great Depression of 1929, as financial support for artists rapidly disappeared. Many artists were forced to leave Harlem, some returning south, others moving to Europe in search of opportunity. But even as the movement declined, its influence only grew stronger. It proved that Black culture is powerful, that art can drive social change, and that identity is something you create, not something given to you. It directly inspired the civil rights movement, the Black arts movement of the 1960s, and today's Black literary renaissance. In the end, a Harlem Renaissance was never just about books or paintings. It was a declaration of existence, a loud, beautiful, unbreakable "we are here." It gave African Americans a voice, an identity, and a future. As Langston Hughes wrote, "We have tomorrow bright before us like a flame." If you found this lecture helpful, subscribe to the channel, share it with fellow students, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. Allah Hafiz.